to emphasize a few things. I think regarding things to do with resourcing and resources generally available online. I think one of the challenges, I'm speaking as someone who works in a media group that has a broadcasting arm, and then it has, I think online has been, not a lot of attention and in terms of resources has been directed towards online, and just basically because I think the owners also look at what they think would be the most profitable part of the company, and that's where they dedicate their resources. Of course, that affects the kind of stories you can do, whether investigation, whether special stories. But also being part of a bigger group is also an advantage because you can leverage on the ecosystem to generate content or to save on the kind of resources. For instance, if NBS is going to do some kind of special features in, say, Mbarara, I just simply have to get one of the people for Nile Post, and they travel together with the team. So they use the same vehicle and what, and that can help sometimes give us unique content, especially in this crowded field of online. The second thing is just an encouragement to some of you who are trying to begin online. I think now than ever before, there are so many opportunities for journalists, whether funding, whether grants. I've been seeing them. There are so many. I think now is the time, and sometimes I've seen so many good journalists constrained or limited under the traditional model. You find someone who wants to concentrate on climate change, but the setup of the organization is such that you are supposed to do a certain number of stories per month, the story count, or the editor thinks you are better off covering sports because either the sports desk is inhabited, it sort of may not have a number of people. But now there are so many resources that you can leverage. There are so many granting opportunities. For some of you interested, even if you say I want to just write about climate change, I know so many people. What it takes is for you to read, to take interest in that field, to read widely about it, and I mean to just also have a platform like a blog and begin applying for all these grants. So many organizations. In COVID-19, during the pandemic and the lockdown, there are so many organizations just that were looking for journalists to fund, maybe to give just about to enable them to do stories about the impact on COVID-19 on so many other aspects. The problem with traditional media is that it constrains you. I've been part of it's good in training, it's good, yes. Certainly there's a lot of experience to gain through mentorship by senior people. But at the end of the day, if someone wants to really make a mark on certain aspects, you can, or in a certain area, I think, I've told it to my friend, there's a friend of mine called Jared Tenua in Vision. You would be far much better off, Jared Tenua, with your experience. If you had a blog or if you had a website on climate and environment, of course it will take time, but it means that you will explore, you will be able to do so many things. So even some of you who are here and would want to go, whether it's about health, whether it's about education, you feel that you want to cover education deeply in ways that a lot of the media don't. I think now, first of all, because of the growth of the internet and smartphones and social media, now is the best time, I think, to do such a thing. And also there are so many people, so many organizations that are willing to fund that kind of journalism.
Can you give us the contacts of the organizations? Thank you very much.
Can I add to that?
Yes, briefly, Sarah.
When I said that I started, yes, my website, my media company to put those stories that I was writing, when I had just started, I got my first funding, my first grant from the Editors Guild. And I remember Alex calling me and said, oh, now you have a media company. We have some money for you.
Alex,
can you take this money? You
Alex,
go and do this.
Please say your number. We put it on the projector there.
That really opened the doors for me. I have received grants from many other media companies, international media companies. Anika is here. I was recently with them with Infonile. We're getting story grants.
Hello,
But
Anika.
if you don't have somewhere to put all this content, you'll not receive the grant. So that is another advantage for you people. So when you have your media company recognized, seen the work you're doing, if someone is looking for people to write about women, Barbara Among was here. I was part of her class at IWMF. They gave us grants. So all these things are happening because you have somewhere to put this content. If you don't have the place to put the content, the platform, no one will give you the money.
That is amazing, but it's quite a brilliant point that you've just made right there. There's so many young people who are watching online, and young people probably participating right here. We have any young people? Okay. I think they went for like short calls. But there are some young people that might be interested in this information. Some have these platforms that they are struggling to have some funds. And seniors are there seated with the information. Dinosaurs are seated there with the information. We've been using the word dinosaur for people that have been, so it's not an abusive thing, for people that have been around for some time. So I don't know, probably at one point we are going to have media focus, bring out an interface where the young dinosaurs sit with the mother and father dinosaurs, and they exchange particular information. Because, I mean, at a point we're going to go back in retirement, and this information goes with us, because much of it is knowledge, and it's in our heads. I would like to proceed with the question session. There's someone who pulled me this side and told me, it's like I had plates are being taken back. We're going to go for lunch in about a few minutes. Okay, I had stopped around where Jan is, and by the way, we're going for lunch shortly. I'll take 3 questions, and when we go through that session, we'll go for lunch. I don't know how much time we'll have for people online, but let's take it from Jan as we make it brief.
Thank you, Sean, and thanks for the fellow dinosaurs on the podium. Thank you so much for your information. Alex, from last year, we've got an increase in the number of online platforms. And this bit about self-regulation, I kind of agree with it, but I think it's a long shot. We're talking about accountability. Who do they account to if we are telling them to self-regulate and they're not doing anything about it? The second question is to Carol. In terms of multimedia journalism, I interact with many young students of digital communication, and they ask me, how about TikTok? And how about whatever that other thing is, Snapchat and IG, and they tell me, but this is the type of journalism I want to do. What am I studying in this place, How do we become relevant? I think in line with what Clinton was saying, can we find these people in the digital spaces where they are? Because they're actually the future of this country, but I don't know whether this is really including them.
I think I'll have that question answered right away separately, briefly, because it's very, very important.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Self-regulation. And who do these people account to? I said we are encouraging an industry-led, internal, voluntary self-regulatory mechanism by, first of all, people joining associations, and then the associations holding the standards. Then the associations have taken it a step further and working with a program called the International Media Training Program. They have worked with the Media Council of Uganda and started what they call a media sector working group. Now, that media sector working group is co-chaired by the Media Council and the International Training Program. And all these associations, the Editors Guild, the online publishers, the National Broadcasters Association, they belong to the Media Sector Working Group. Now, what that media sector working group is going to do is to encourage internal self-regulation and accountability. And for your information, the media laws are going to be amended in this parliament. And that media sector working group will coordinate the industry's response to ideas of what should be included in the amendment of the law. Maybe we may be able to move from the internal voluntary self-regulation to statutory regulation, or even if we remain in the current regulatory environment we are in, we shall have an industry input on how the law is going to be amended.
I think there was a part that Carol was supposed to take on.
All right. Thank you, John, for the question. Yes, I know. I recognize that these channels are very popular, especially with the younger crowds. So I think if you want to get into that mode, that place, you need to ask yourself, what am I bringing as a journalist on this platform? The platforms, for example, TikTok is it's liked because of its entertainment, it's fun, it's humor, and there's journalism that can be brought there. But what are you bringing? You need to ask yourself, what am I bringing that sets me apart as a journalist? And people can recognize that and appreciate that and still work in this format that people enjoy it. The same goes for Instagram, the same goes for Snapchat. What am I bringing on these platforms that is still journalistic? So even if I am putting my photos and videos on Instagram, what am I bringing that's interesting, that's informative, that's educative, entertaining? So that's the first question that anyone who wants to work on that platform needs to ask themselves. Away from just sort of being a platform I'm interested in, what are you bringing that's going to excite the people who are actually using it? And then you also need to ask yourself, if, for example, you want to work for a media house, if you want to work for PML or Nile Post or with Sarah or NTV, and you say, I want to come and work, but for your Instagram channel or for your TikTok channel, what are you going to do that sets you apart on that? Why should NTV take you? Why should PML say, yes, we like your content? What are you giving them? Because you see, it's a business. They have to make money, they have to run, they have to pay you a salary or some sort of retain or that kind of thing. So you need to ask yourself, is what I'm bringing good enough that we will be able to get advertisers, that we'll be able to create content that advertisers will want to associate themselves with? So I think that many times people don't look at the other side. They tend to think, this is exciting, I want to do this is where it's at. And that is true, but what are you going to bring that's going to be creative, it's going to be interesting, and that the audiences are going to love and lap it up, but also that the organization or yourself, if you're going to do it yourself, how are you going to make the money to sustain what you're doing, to keep making those videos, to keep making that sort of thing? So those are the questions I think people need to ask themselves. It's a platform that can be used for sure, but you need to think through all the steps. And it reminds me of what Henry was asking about, resourcing, about the smaller websites, like trying to come up. One thing that I know, like if I can give an example, yesterday we are trying to start an investment club with my friends, my OGs, and we're thinking, how do we start? And we were being told, whatever you do, have processes, have people in place. Because without that, you will crumble. You will come together, you'll be 10 of you, you'll have your money, and then there's no process, there's no system, So even with the smaller websites, I would encourage look and say, do we have processes? Do we have, however small, do we have the right person in the right place? Even if we are 4 or 5, are we doing the right things? Do we have the right people? Are we picking the right people? Because that takes you a long way, because when you have that, your content is good and people will notice you out of the crowd. They will say, these guys, their stuff is good because you have processes, you have systems, and you're doing it the right way.
Thanks very much, Carol. That's quite brilliant. We are active online. I'll be taking one more question on ground, but let's first go online. And Pat Robert, are you still there? Pat Robert? Pat Robert? I think he's gone. Pardon? Because some individuals have been putting up their hands on Zoom, but we've not been giving them time. All right, we'll get back to that, but briefly we're going to be reading your comments as well. Let's just go about this as quickly as possible.
So John already helped me ask one of the questions that I had, but I'm still going to ask. Yes, we have the online association, which is helping to bring all these people that are online together. My question is, you have the do's and don'ts. Are you going to, make sure the do's are done and the don'ts are not done? Is there a penalty for anyone that is going to violate these? Because we have do's and don'ts for National Association of Broadcasters, but we see a lot going amiss. Are you going to work together as an online association to see that this is a better arm of media? And also, secondly, what are you bringing different to the table? We have a lot of grievances from the journalists, the reporters. They're being paid poorly where they're working. So if I'm going to be an online reporter, if I'm going to write for online, what are you bringing to the table that is going to make the media a better fraternity, that it's going to put us at a better place? And then also, thirdly, how are you addressing the challenge of citizenship journalism? Carol Bayanga has given us facts that, the number of those that are online has increased immensely, and everyone is now a journalist. I just have to walk with my smartphone, take a pic and upload, and that is it. I'm already reporting something. How are you as the online group or the online association working to see that you are effective enough? Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, let's see who's taking that first. I told her that be brief, and then she asked 3 questions. But let's go about that as briefly as possible.
Well, I think online has so many issues here. This is natural. It's a new area that comes with so many